years ago, Michigan beat you guys 56-7. This was a hell of a football game, Coach.
Yeah, and you know me, right? Like, there's no moral victories. I'm smiling, but I'm angry on the inside because they're a great team. We have a great team, and we had every chance to win the game. But that's Big Ten football. It's going to come down to the last play. We score, have an onside kick. We just came up a play short. But credit to them, they made some plays. But I think our guys showed exactly what they're capable of, and we just got to get a little bit better.
What do you take from this? Now, like, you're in your mind, after you process the result piece of it, it's about, like, what do you take? What do you learn from them? And what do they learn from each other going through a game like that? A Big Ten game. It's Michigan and the whole thing.
Bill Walsh said years ago, champions act like champions before they're champions. They have a winning standard of performance. And I've always believed that. So I look at the positives, I look at the negatives, right? So positives, we get down by 10 the first quarter, we come right back, tie it up. They go up 17-10, we throw the Hail Mary 17-17. There's been a lot of days since I've been here where you get down and it's like, oh, here we go. But that's not our guys' mindset anymore. So that the mindset piece, which is when you take over a program that's been losing, that's the hardest thing to conquer. So I loved the way that they competed. I loved the way that they were out there and they were in the battle. I think it's important, like anything in life, you can't overreact, but you can't underreact. You need to have a calculated response. It's important to go back and say, okay, here's the things we did well. And right now we're in the top 5 in passing in the country. We're number 1 in completion percentage. We're 20th in turnover margin. We're doing a lot of things well. So we're really good on special teams right now. We're giving up too many explosive runs. So we gave up 3 runs that equated to 168 yards. And you know what? Like, you can't win like that. And then we gave up 7 sacks. So those are the things, losing that physical battle, those are the things that really bother you. But there's a lot of things we're doing well. And you got to give Michigan credit now. Like, they got some guys, and they're a really good team. They got great backs. Their edge player, Barnum, I mean, he's amazing. And so we'll build off it, man. But, I just think, you just can't be emotional. You can't, overreact. Can't underreact. You also can't tell your players it's okay to lose. And so we went in there, man, and I expect them to be mad. They are. I expect our coaches to be mad, but use that to get better and to spur something special.
I think you said something that was really profound, which is the Bill Walsh statement of acting like a champion before you become that way, because you know how it is. You've taken over these programs, and it's got to be a switch, right? And you got to get them to understand what it's like to be a winner and to feel like a winner even before it actually happens.
No doubt. I mean, we're going to be in that same situation again here soon, right? We've had 4 games this year. We've had 2 games that were 3-point games. A 3-point win for us, a 3-point win for the other team, 3-point loss. That's the Big Ten. They're all going to be like this going down the stretch. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 won't be that way. And so we better get real comfortable that college football is becoming more like the NFL, right? There's more parity. The conferences have taken the best teams and put them all together. What was once the Big Ten is now completely different. And so, Illinois is a big time team. They're a top 10 team. They got crushed by Indiana. Illinois is not going to feel sorry for themselves. Bielema's going to have them back. They'll be back. Notre Dame's in the top 25, and they were 0-2 going into last week. So I just think it's who can not overreact, who can keep their mindset, who can not panic. Those are the teams that'll win in the long run.
How do you then keep their confidence? Like, the whole idea of confidence and believing who you are, like your own messaging to them, how do you approach it?
I think it all comes from the tape, right? Like, you go back and watch the plays you won, and that's who you can be. Like, watch you covering their receiver, watch you getting open, watch you making those blocks. Then you go back and look at the plays we didn't get, and you say to yourself, okay, well, why? Is it just because we're just not good enough? Or is it because, hey, the 1 touchdown run, we got confused and the safety went down and we had no safety? And so should someone else make the play? Absolutely. But those are things that are correctable. And so sometimes by not just avoiding it, by diving in and saying to yourself, hey, what can we do differently? What can we do better? You realize it is within my control. We just got to be a little bit better here and a little bit better here. And that then, after a game outside the locker room, there's usually a lot of narratives because that makes it easy. It makes it easy to say, oh, we lost because of this. I tell our guys, well, you know what? There's probably about 40 plays in that game that if something just goes a little differently, we come out on top. And so, and guess what? Michigan can probably say the same thing. They're probably looking at 40. So it's about just trying to fix those 40 plays. And it's not 40 plays for everybody. You know, for this guy, it might be 2 plays. For me, it might be 1 decision. For this guy, it might be 3 plays. Fix those 2 or 3 things. It goes back to your point. You know, we don't want to look too much at the past, but we have improved significantly. We are a program on the rise. We are ascending. And so we have to use what happened on Saturday to help us ascend, right? Like we have to say to ourselves, okay, here's what we need to do to make sure this doesn't happen again. And that, I'll be honest with you, that's hard to do. But if you can do it, I mean, look what Ohio State did last year. They lost to Michigan the last game of the year in a painful loss. And guess what they did? They didn't lose again. And so that's a mature team, and I'm hoping our team can be that mature. I'm sure they will.
I do want to ask you one question about Dylan and bring him up because he's spectacular. I mean, we forget sometimes, you know, it's his second year. And that game environment, you want to talk about stepping up to the competition, stepping up to the moment. I mean, I thought he stepped up in a big way. Yeah,
I mean, to get sacked 7 times and still throw for over 300 yards, had the one tough picked interception, tip pick early on. Didn't let that bother him. Throws the Hail Mary, hits Jacory to, and then hits Heinrich to score the touchdown at the end. One of my favorite plays is we get in the red zone and Michigan's going to bring a 0 blitz and come after us, and he makes the check. Not some guy on the sideline with a card, and a hand signal. Dylan's out there. That's like we said, he's playing pro football, and so. I believe playing in games like this with all that adversity, with all the stuff that's happened, with all the chaos, and coming through it, that's what makes great players great. And he's playing great football. He's got guys around him who are fighting their tails off for him, and we'll build. We'll keep going.
All right, let's cover the world of football like we always do. And today we got to toast special teams. What a wild weekend. First of all, it was like block kick chaos in the NFL with all the block kicks. College football, block punts, punch return for touchdowns. What's going on with special teams?
Normally you see it like in the first week of college football, but after our game, I got home and watching that Indiana-Illinois game, and that's really what got it started. I've always felt like teams that go block punts, not rush them, but if you block a punt, that's a team that's playing fearlessly. I mean, you got to run full speed at the punter. If you hit them, they get the ball back. It really shows a lot about their mindset. I thought what the Jets did, jumping over, you have to be in the neutral zone, but what amazing athleticism to jump over the line, block it, and run it back. I mean, it's pretty cool to see guys realizing that you can make plays on special teams that can change the game.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, in the Eagles-Rams, 2 blocked field goals in the fourth quarter. And then, of course, the end of the game, there's Jordan Davis rolling 18 miles an hour, the big boy going for a touchdown off the block kick.
Well, that's it. But you know what? It'll be interesting to see because most times when those things start to happen, especially in the league, it'll self-correct real quick. I mean, that 3 minutes for field goal on Wednesday becomes 8 minutes. You put the guys out there who can do it. So I'll be interested to see what the response is because special teams coordinators they usually don't let kicks get blocked very often.
Speaking of special teams coordinators, they are different cats. All right, what is it about special teams coaches? Like, is there something in the water with special teams coaches? Because they're all nuts. A great nut. I love it. Like a good nuts.
There's no doubt. Well, one thing people don't realize is, or maybe they don't realize, is I didn't realize this until I went to the Giants, is the special teams coordinator is usually like a mini GM, in the National Football League. Like he watches everyone's skill set, like who's our 5th receiver, who's our 3rd back. He is immensely involved in all that. And then who's active on game day. And like those guys have to be great, not just at, picking players, but utilizing their skill sets. And, think about it. What makes you want to become a special teams coordinator? Sometimes it's, hey, I was a linebackers coach, and I go this way or I go that way. our special teams coordinator here, Mike Eckler, and we're in the tops in the country right now in special teams. He's crazy. He runs to the game from the hotel. Like he goes for a jog and ends up at the game. But he was a guy that when he was at Kansas State, man, he made a living running down on kickoff and blowing up the wedge. And I mean, to me, special teams is truly love of the game. Those guys love the game, and so you need a coordinator who loves the game and loves those types of players.
And a lot of times they can become really good coaches, like John Harbaugh became a real successful head coach as being a special teams coordinator.
Yeah, no doubt, because they're so good at like touching the guys on the defense, touching guys on offense, seeing personnel. And to me, if you can't adequately place your personnel in the right places, if you can't disperse it properly, then you probably aren't going to be a great coach, because we all have a certain amount of players. Who's using them properly? And I think, Coach Harbaugh, John's obviously a great example of that.
You got some of that inside you. I mean, all I know is if you're in Italy and you have a beautiful dinner of pasta, maybe some wine, and then you see a big hill, right? And then you go, I want to run up that hill. And maybe your buddy, Jeff Mesco, says, really? We're going to run up the hill? And you ran up the hill. That's a true story. That's a special teams coach.
We call that, we were in La Spezia. We called that La Spezia Challenge. Like, we would go to dinner every night, and he would always have, like, nice shoes on. By the time we were done, he'd have a pair of sneakers somewhere, because I'd be like, hey, we were walking one night. We saw some guys playing pickup basketball. They didn't speak English. Next, we're playing 2-on-2. Then we saw the hills in La Spezia after, like, a 5-course meal. And I'm like, let's go. And we ran to the top and ran back. I mean, I literally almost had a heart attack. He had to, like, coach me through it. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about being in Italy that brings out that party. But that's what special teams coordinators are. Like, you have to run head first down the field, blow up a wedge, run through contact. I mean, there's got to be something different about you. You got to be wired differently. Well, thank you for being here.
You bet. I appreciate it.
So I remember getting on a plane to fly to Waco, Texas to be the new head coach, guy from New York City.
Yeah.
And not knowing anybody in the state of Texas. And as I drove around trying to hire staff, I kept hearing this name, this legendary name, Joey McGuire. Joey McGuire. Coach McGuire, what did you think when they said, hey, they hired a guy from Philadelphia, a New York City guy, to come be the head coach of Baylor in Texas?
Well, your reputation of being a tough guy, I thought it would be like it was going to fit, but I was shocked. I'm an hour away from Waco, coaching at Cedar Hill High School, and I hear the news, and I was like, man, this is the most outside-the-box hire in the history of any school in the state of Texas, it seemed like. And but I'd heard so much about you, so I was like, okay, let's see how it goes.
So, I hired David Wetzel. I hired a Texas high school coach.
Yeah.
I hired Sean Bell. And David Wetzel kept saying, like, listen, the guy you need to get, the godfather of South Dallas, future Texas high school coach, Hall of Famer, you need to get Joey McGuire. Other people had tried to hire you. You had all these opportunities to get into college. You never did. What kept you all those years? What kept you at Cedar Hill?
I had the greatest job in the world, great kids. We had got it going in such a great manner. And then I wanted to coach my daughter, got to coach her in powerlifting, and then I wanted to coach Garrett, and I still remember, it happened so fast. We get beat in the 4th round, and I'm literally interviewing with you that next Sunday, like a week later. And going into that season, it was kind of a pivotal moment of like, it's never going to be the same. So is this the time that I do it? And I'll never forget. I'm leaving. We meet at IHOP in Hillsborough.
It wasn't really an interview. It was
a lot of coffee and just talking like this. And Debbie goes, "Why are you going? Like, you're never going to leave Cedar Hill." And I said, "There is something about this guy, and I got to figure out, what it is." Because just talking to you on the phone and then talking to a lot of different people, it was like, this is going to be a really good fit if you felt the same way. And it was funny. It wasn't an interview. It was just a whole lot of coffee and some pancakes and talking.
I remember sitting there with you and just being like, this is like not me. This is like, but like me. This is like us. Like,
yes.
Being like, I've never met somebody who understands the way I feel and think like this. But my job was easy. I hired you, and like, you had to uproot your family, your life, everything. What made you have the courage to do that?
I walked out, I literally called Debbie and I said, if he offers us the job, we're going to Baylor. And she was like, what? And I said, I can get emotional just thinking about it. I said, when you meet this guy, you'll get it. Everything that we believe in, he believes in, and he's doing it at a different level. And I was like, I need to find out, I want to work for somebody like that. And so it was such an easy decision, and going back on it changed my life.
One of the things that you taught me, and you taught me in the form of a story, was when you talked about going to Cedar Hill. At the time, it wasn't a football school when you first took the job, young coach. Tell me, tell everyone that watches this, tell about building the trophy case. I think that's one of the great stories I've ever heard.
I'm 31 years old. I'm the youngest high school coach, I think, in the state of Texas, especially at the 5A level. And we are at a school that's a basketball school. David Milson had won 700 games as a basketball coach. And it's interesting because you wouldn't think a basketball, football coach that are really kind of competing for the same guys, and he really didn't have to compete for those guys before. He was such a mentor, and I came in and he could do anything. He would build these trophy cases. I mean, he did it. He stained them, everything. And I heard that he had redone his locker room, so I go down the locker room, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Coach, this is beautiful. And he has trophies everywhere in all these beautiful cases. And I literally turned to him and I said, I need some of these trophies. We've got to win. And he goes, you're thinking about this all wrong. You got to build the cases first. And I walked out of that office. We called them the Rickies. There were two maintenance guys. I said, could you meet me down by my office? There was an old inset where it was the old payphones. I mean, and they had taken the payphones out. And I said, could you finish this out and do a trophy case? And they did, and literally that trophy case was empty. I always say it because it's above my office now, and everybody goes, oh, that's Ted Lasso. There was block letters that said believe in the trophy case. So before Ted Lasso did believe,
you might be Ted Lasso.
I might be, yeah. And so I had that in there, and then we won the district championship the next year for the first time in like 25 years. And then if you go into Cedar Hill now, there's all around the hallway is trophy cases and trophies. Like
when you think about what makes you a great coach, is it that like you inspire belief? Because it takes guts to put that there.
Yeah.
Like you're building a trophy case and you have no trophies. People look at you like you're nuts. Like what makes you be the one who's able to do it?
I think one that drew me to you too was like this. It's at the end of the day, I know we're football coaches and X's and O's, and I love the game of football, but it's all about people and the relationships you can build and how you can change people's lives, and that's why we coach. The people that do it for the right reasons, it's all about the players. I've got 11 guys walking stage today that just graduated from college that, we're in contact with them this morning. Man, enjoy the day. Wish we could be there. We'll have some people there from our staff, to celebrate with them. But that's what it's all about. So I think you connect those people and you can inspire them to do things that a lot of people in their families, they haven't done before that they get to do.
I mean, I know I'm a calm guy as a coach and all that. And sometimes I forget things that happen. Did I ever do anything crazy? Did I ever snap? Did I ever is there anything I need to apologize to you for? Did I ever?
Well, you changed my life, but you also changed my son's life. I think it's a great story about him because he was going to the University of Texas. It's Martin Luther King Day, and we're installing. We have a brand new offensive staff, and there's some guys that have worked together. You brought your whole defensive staff, so it was totally different. And I'll never forget, he goes, Dad, can I come down and sit in some meetings? Because he was still in school. And we go to lunch, and he goes, I need to come to Baylor. I'll have more access. He knew he was going to be a coach. We go to lunch, and I said, we need to talk to Coach Rhule. I'll go in there and talk to him, but if you want to walk on at Baylor, you haven't applied, you need to start getting everything ready. And literally, it really did change his life. Long story long, the moment we were practicing, we had a Saturday night scrimmage. I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember any of this.
Oh, this is so good. So because he was a quarterback, he was on the headsets. And you ripped my tail. I mean, it was the best, and I appreciated it. My coaches that coached with me for so many years, they used to love to come to practice. And every once in a while, if you did get on me, they would be like, secretly
Finally, my
clapping, they were fired up. And but you ripped my tail, and I deserved it. I think I said something that, like question or whatever, and you're like, this isn't the time, but you ripped me. And then you apologize for it because you go, I didn't know Garrett was on the headsets. And I said, Coach, she's heard much worse. He's been on the headsets all his life. So I laugh at that because that was such a great moment.
You're at Texas Tech. Now you're the head coach in college.
Yeah.
You got all these guys coaching for you. Have you had that same moment where you had to rip someone on a headset?
Oh yeah. It's always funny it's all in the moment. And I always tell everybody, all the coaches I coach with and everything is like, look, you need to understand on game day, I'm a totally different person. But one thing that I learned from you, and I use this all the time, is when you're between the white lines, it's nothing personal. Yeah. It's iron sharpens iron. We're going to get after each other. Whatever comes out of my mouth, do not take it personal. And I always try not to be personal whenever we're doing that stuff. And then whenever you step off the field, it's totally a different, situation, And so I do warn guys, if they've never coached with me, just understand whatever comes out of my mouth is nothing personal. It's just we're all trying to win.
So you're the first to put the belief sign up.
Yeah.
Infectious personality. I think about when my daughters used to walk in the facility, they'd run past my office. They wouldn't come see me first. They'd be like, "Where's Coach JoJo at?"
Yeah.
Come out, get a big hug from you. You have this Could you win a championship coaching soccer?
No, I don't know about soccer, man. I don't know about soccer. I'd give it a try.
But you've done it all. You've coached in high school. You've coached in college. Everyone thinks there's all these differences. Coaching's coaching.
Yeah.
When you think about all the years, what's your favorite part of just being a coach?
I know you're the exact same way, but when you get calls from players of James Lockhart, who you coached, who you changed his life, and now he's a coach. And he coached for me for a while. Now he's at Rio Grande, and he has a daughter, and he's sending me pictures as soon as she's born saying, hey, you're a granddad now, because he's like a son to me, and stuff like that. When you get those calls and you know that you made an impact, and I know you've had these calls, but 10 years later, Coach, I know why you were so hard on me. I now use that with my son, or I now use those, stuff that came out of your mouth. I use it. I find myself, and it's like whenever, I were growing up, we got two really strong dads, that are incredible men. And we use their verbiage and stuff with our kids, and now all of a sudden there's guys that are using our verbiage and they're raising their kids. I think that's the whole reason you coach.
So we talked about sitting at the IHOP, that pivotal moment. I think another pivotal moment in my life, probably your life, but I was a part of it, also happened, I think, on I-35, going to the Big 12 championship game. And we were sitting at a barbecue place.
Yeah, Hard 8.
Oh, yeah,
right
Hard 8.
35, yes, sir.
And you had been offered the UTSA job.
Yeah.
There was rumors I might leave, might not leave. I wanted you to take the job to make sure you got a head coaching job because I knew you were going to be a great college head coach. And in the parking lot, you told me, you said, hey, I'm not taking the job. I'm going to stay at Baylor. Which you pretty soon when I went to the Panthers, you also didn't go with me. You didn't do it. But you made some courageous decisions. How did you do that? And then when it didn't go exactly the way you wanted right afterwards, you didn't get the Baylor job.
Yeah.
How did you process that?
Well, first, you thought I was nuts. Trace thought I was nuts. Alex thought I was nuts, and Debbie thought I was nuts. And after the Baylor job, I was like, how bad did I just mess up my, career as far as these jobs are so hard to get, and you might not get, the opportunity again. It was really hard because the one thing that I told Debbie when we were talking is I said, if Coach Rhule leaves and I don't get the opportunity at Baylor, just the opportunity to interview for the job, I said, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. And I said, I'm willing to live with that. I'm not willing to live with it, the regret part of it, and so I turned it down and then came in second for the Baylor job. And, it was a really hard, processing through that. And in 21, I literally I think you and I had talked, and I talked to Alex, and I said, should I go to Carolina? This totally now remakes my career. I'll go, now I'm not a high school coach that's coaching college. I'm really an NFL coach now that's coaching college, so it kind of changes the narrative for the next head coaching job. And Alex asked, he goes, hey, how good can you be at Baylor? And I said, well, we've got a chance to be really good. There was some changes made, especially with Jeff Grimes coming in as the offensive coordinator. And he said, well, if that's the case, you need to stay because there are going to be some jobs opening up in the state of Texas. What's crazy is we thought 3 were going to open, and 1 of the 3 opened, and the one that opened was really my dream job. So it kind of, worked out perfectly.
You came to Carolina, because your son Garrett obviously was working for me, and we were sitting at the Palm, and they just put my face up on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
That they probably have taken it down. But it was up there, and I'd never forget. Julie says to you, "So Julie, do you regret that decision?" I was like, I almost choked on my chicken,
Yeah.
But did you regret it? Did you think you were going to get another chance, or were you kind of like, hey, this is just what it is?
Like at the same time, COVID hits and it changes the whole world, and we had a terrible year. So then you're like questioning, like, man, should I have gone to Oklahoma where I had an opportunity after, I didn't get the Baylor job? Should I have gone to just different places? So I had to take a real step back and change the way I talked. You will totally get it, but I had to stop talking to myself in different ways, like the inner voice that we're always feeding, good or bad. I had to be like, I was feeding a lot of bad because I was feeding a lot of regret. I was feeding a lot like, how did you do this? Why did you make this? And it was like, I've got to stop doing that. I've got it, because it was changing the way I was around players. And whenever that started happening, I was like, okay, there's something wrong here. You got to regroup, and it worked out. We had a great year the next year, and was able to get the Texas Tech job. So
you get the Texas Tech job, been head coach. Now it's like you got to deal with the ups and downs, the highs and lows. How do you control that inner voice now? I can tell you, it talks to me all the time. Like, how do you keep it? Like, how do we as coaches? How do we as leaders? How do you keep it positive?
I changed again this year. So I've always been one of these people, and I think people are. There's different people that can do it this way. I always thought I was a guy that could do it this way. Like, the negative feeds me. When people say I can't do stuff and everything, I want to prove them wrong. I'm still like that, but I used to read a lot of stuff like, hey, Coach McGuire's a high school coach and he's not getting it done and stuff like that. And there was a point this year that I was like, man, this is, again, starting to consume. And I always judge everything how I'm around the players. Like, if I'm the same guy every single day and that guy that I want to be, then we're good. But whenever I start changing towards the players, that's whenever I always like, okay, something's up. And so I literally, I'm still on social media from just recruiting, all that stuff, but I just stopped. I just blocked some people. I stopped reading the negative stuff. I said, Debbie, get off of this, message board and everything. It is what it is. And that, again, recentered me for the players, and that was a big part, because that has never been me. I've always wanted that. Like, it's almost like that negative gets you in here and you're like, okay, let's just go take on the world.
Right.
And it was going the wrong way.
Obviously, you've been a part of my family's life. You've been a part of my kids' life. We had the honor of being a part of your son's life and your family's life, coaching him. But you got to coach him. You got to coach him in high school. You got to coach him in college, and now he coaches with you. As you get older, as I get older, what matters? What really, really matters in our lives?
This right here. I don't think people understand how close we are. He's my son, but there was changes that happened on my staff and your staff before I would even say, hey, Garrett, let's talk to Coach Rhule about coming and coaching for me. And that's my flesh and blood. So before that would even happen, I take it from you from the standpoint, this Italian, almost this mafia mentality of family.
That's right.
People don't understand how close we are, and stuff like that. And the stuff that I've gotten from you and learned, use it every day. And so I think that's what's important. At the end of the day, the relationships that we have with each other, the relationships we are building with our players, we want to win. Yeah. And when you win, you get to keep your job, and that's the thing. The winning part gets you able to affect a lot of people's lives and continue to do it. But, I think the relationship piece of all of this is what's so important.
I think that's one of the hardest things for me is I started at Temple, it was 10 coaches, a couple GAs, pad, got ops guy, a weight room guy. There's 12. Now I run an organization. You run an organization, and for people who are wired, we just want to be in the locker room with the guys.
Yeah.
You said Italian, La Familia. I just want to be close to everybody. When you get to this status, you don't get to talk to other head coaches. You have to walk in every day and be the face of the organization. Where do you find balance? How do you find connection? What are the things that you do to keep yourself mentally and emotionally charged in a good place? Because I get lonely in this job, which if you're doing it right, you probably are going to get a little bit lonely because you're leading. How do you combat that?
Staying connected with your family. Greg said it this morning. You got to have those people that are going to an extent. He might not have said exactly like this, but the stuff that you need to hear versus what you want to hear, you got to have some of those people in your life. And then you do I'm going to sit on the back porch every night and take a deep breath, whether it's 10 minutes or 30 minutes, and, try to recharge. But I believe this. I believe this in my heart, and people are my players and people will say, he's the same way every single day. He's always excited. He's very happy to see everything. I think every morning you get up, when your feet hit the floor, that's a choice. You choose that stuff. And so that's one thing, even whenever I'm not feeling the best, I have the chance to make somebody, feel good. So it's I think it's really important you're intentional in doing that every day.
People will ask me, how do you feel about Joey? And I explain it one way. I'm kind of a bougie traveler. I like to travel nice. I like to stay in nice hotels. In 27 years of coaching, I've only stayed at one coach's house and slept in their kid's bedroom on multiple times, and but to be fair to me, your wife always had cocktail waiting, she had food waiting, she had an amazing, how are you not fat eating that breakfast every morning that we would wake up to, but to open someone's home, share someone's home, I don't do that for anybody, no one can stay at my house, so but those were fun moments,
They were. This is the best. I still remember you woke up and got, man, I slept so good. It was and the room was dark. And what's funny is I didn't get those breakfasts every day. I liked whenever you came because there was a breakfast every day when you opened up. But it was the same way. We got to come and spend a week with y'all and your family in Jersey and. And on the beach. I remember those. Those are some of the best moments, that you get to share with people.
So your daughter, Reagan, amazing young fashion designer, taking the world by storm. She marries a New York City guy.
Yeah.
Did you ever know that Italian food could be that good until you finally ate in the 5 boroughs?
No, man, and he's a foodie, and he is an Italian. Joe Tocco from Long Island. And the wedding was almost a movie because we did it in Texas, and half of course, the wedding party and everybody's Texan, and the other half's all full-blown New York. But, I love New York, and that was the thing. I always, it gets a bad rap from people from the South because they think, hey, people are rude and everything. They're not. They're just who they are, and they're busy, and they're going places, and they don't need to say hello to you, And when I went, I fell in love with the place, and the food is absolutely incredible.
The next time I come to Texas, where do I get barbecue? What's the not I'll go here, but do that. You got one place. You got one place you can go to, and you can't be in Lubbock, so that way you don't upset anybody from nothing West Texas.
Yeah.
I'm in Central I-35 corridor, Dallas, all the way Austin down to Houston. Yeah. Where am I going?
I'm going to Cooper's in Llano, Texas. Yeah. You're going to go in, you're going to walk in, and they're going to open up the pits, and you're going to get to pick out of the pits, and they've got their homemade barbecue sauce. That's always my go-to. There's a bunch of different places, but I'm going to Llano, Texas.
Where's the Big 12 championship game this year?
It's at AT&T Stadium, and it's one of my favorite places to coach. I need to get back there and coach in it.
Well, I believe.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, brother.
Thank you, brother.
All right, time now for our mailbag. We have a lot of people on House Rules. They want to pick your brain, Coach. So I got a guy, Andrew Hannes. He said, new dad here, looking for tidbits of advice to help raise a warrior girl. Also looking for a book recommendation for being a dad, a coach, it's leadership, life, whatever. And he goes, I'm waiting for the Rhule book club because he wants to be a member of it.
Well, I think one of the best books I ever read about parenting is How to Really Love Your Child. Okay, so it's awesome. And I think one of the things you think about is you think about like your child having like a love tank, and like, hey, have I filled up their love tank? Or are they walking around half empty or 3/4 empty? And so, especially in the world we live in now, like, the messages being sent to them, just, the cyber world and things that can, you say something mean to somebody, it echoes off. You text something mean to somebody, it stays forever. And so never really knowing what our children are dealing with. I think that concept of like, making sure that they always feel full and loved, I think is really, really important. But, I learned two great lessons this year. I'm going to tell two stories about two great basketball coaches. So my daughter, Leona, is the younger one. She's 10. She's very competitive. And she played basketball last year, and they lost a game. And she would always walk off the court and storm off after the game. And I'd try to say something to her, and she'd be like, leave me alone, and walk out crying to the car. And I was telling Amy Williams here, our esteemed women's basketball coach, I was like, man, she's such a poor sport. I got to talk to Leona. Like, she yells and screams at me and cries after every game. And Amy says, leave her alone. If she's competitive, like, breed it. It's so hard to find. She's like, don't take that away from her. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll shut up. I don't know. You know what? She knows about raising warrior basketball players, not me. And so then my older daughter, Vivi, and Vivi's, a foot taller than most kids in her grade, right? And, she, like, I've tried to train her a little bit to, like, be a back to the basket player. Like, she's like, the Rick Mahorn of, she's out there throwing bows. But then she would go to, like, these travel basketball things if she wanted to do it. And everything's like, dribbling and being a guard. And so she'd get a little frustrated. And I remember I was talking to Corey Close, and she's the women's basketball coach at UCLA. She's another awesome coach. And I was telling her this, I'm like, yeah, I get kind of frustrated, because she'll go do basketball stuff, and instead of like being like a big player, it's all this other stuff. She's like, Matt, that's the game today. Like, women's basketball, like, you have to be able to play all 5 positions. You have to dribble. You should encourage her to do those things. Don't tell her. And I was like, what is wrong with me? I'm being a helicopter parent right now. Like, I'm taking the easy way. And so I think the biggest thing for us as dads, at least, when it comes to like our kids, whether it's sports, whether it's school, is like loving them, but also having really, really high standards for them. And like think about how would you treat your son, and then do the same thing with our daughters. I love my daughters. I'm going to be there for them when they fall down. I'm going to pick them up. But the best thing I can do is teach them how to get up. And Coach Williams and Coach Close, they put me in my place when it comes to women's basketball. So I'm just going to stick to football. But I'm trying to raise 2 warriors out there.
I love it. I love the love tank. My 2 boys, man, and they're my world, right? So that love tank is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, it's funny. One thing my father said to me, I feel obliged to share this with me. My dad sometimes will say to me, so often in life we walk around and we see people that are struggling or having issues or whatever, and we'll say, man, what's wrong with that person? And my dad always encourages me to say, hey, what happened to that person? What, instead of saying what's wrong with them, what happened to them? And I think when you start thinking of it that way, when people are acting out or people are struggling, maybe they don't feel any love. Maybe they feel alone. Maybe they're struggling with something. Maybe they haven't shared it to somebody. And maybe you, whether it's your kids or just someone you work with or someone you meet, maybe we can be the solution. Maybe we can be the person who corrects those things. And so I think those are really good perspectives of, hey, what's going on the inside of somebody, and when you start doing that, you're empathizing with them, and that allows you to reach them. I hope.
That's great advice. I love it. Tell Dad thank you. I'm going to employ that. All right, time now to look ahead, like we always do. Now you'll obviously be preparing for Michigan State in 2 weeks, but this is your first bye, so. A couple things. One, what's your schedule with the team and how does that work? And 2, what does Matt Rhule do on a bye week Saturday at home?
Well, I think the first thing, and I think we have to say this is, when we decided to do this podcast and we wanted to bring attention to coaching, we wanted to bring attention to parenting, we wanted to bring attention to sports and attention to Nebraska, we knew that there was a possibility, that there'd be a day we had to do it after a loss. And I think that's really important, that like the standard is the standard and the process is the process. And what we believe is that you can't change your standard based upon your feelings. Like, I'm angry today. I'm smiling, but I'm angry on the inside. I'm hurt on the inside, but it's like, man, we're going to stick to the process and trust that we're doing the right things, because it's one thing to see the podcast after a win and all that was great. And it was 60. It's another thing after a loss and have it be real and authentic. So I think that's number one. And that leads into the week, man. Like, we came in on Sunday, we lifted, we did rehab, we met, we watched the tape, we told the truth. The guys have today off, go to class, dinner, and then we'll practice Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning. We have to get better. They'll have Friday, Saturday off, and then I'll leave recruiting Thursday. So I'll be flying all around the country. I'll be on the Husker jet. I think I'll be in 4 states. I'll get back either late Friday night or early Saturday morning. Saturday morning, Bud Crawford Parade, Omaha. We have to represent the champ. Let us out onto the field on Saturday. Sat with Julie up in the suite. Just an amazing man. The champions, we're going to go celebrate him. And then I'll be a college football fan all day. Now, Michigan State's off too, so I can't watch them. But there'll be some teams that we face. Penn State plays Oregon. We face Penn State later in the year. There'll be some different teams to have a chance to watch on TV. But I love this game of football, and I will be excited to watch it.
I love the messaging because it's the truth. I mean, like, full disclosure, I left you alone. Like, I wasn't going to text you or call you yesterday. I wanted you don't want to hear, hey, man, it was great. Even though I could sit here and tell you, 2 years ago, you lost 56-7 to that team. That's a program that's won a national championship 2 years ago. So, but you don't want to hear about it. And I think it's great for your team, and this is just me talking, that after a loss, you're here. You're not ducking anything. It's not about always in the good times. The good times are always going to happen, and you should celebrate them. But it's about the everyday grind, and that's why I think it's important today.
No doubt. I always talk about convenient leadership. Like, don't lead. It's easy to lead when things are going well. Give the speech, break everybody down. Who shows up when there's some adversity? But here's the thing: every college football team, maybe one or two, is going to lose a ball game this year. Who are you the next day, the day after, the day after? And so I can't say that to my team, hey, what's next? Let's move forward, and then not do it myself. Yeah. Two things can be true. We can be mad, we can be angry, we can be hurt, whatever, but yet we still have to show up. And that's what makes a man a man. That's what makes a competitor a competitor. Well, that's it. Another episode in the can. Please remember to like, share, or subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And please follow @HouseRules on socials. Until next time.